All right. This is the WMB show, and I am your host, Isaiah Israel. And we're just going to really put it down and put it into more of a order from last night. We were on for about 2 hours, and projecting for tonight, we're going to be on for about an hour and 15 minutes. But I really want you to understand that, what the fuck? Yeah, I really don't know what's going on with this, but it keeps saying it can't connect for whatever reason. So, I'm just gonna keep on going here. I can't stream, but we're gonna record it and then we're going to post it on YouTube when we're done. But to get back to what I was trying to say, we were on last night for about 2 hours, and I really thought it was necessary to get into the heart and soul. But tonight we're going to cover a lot of the details of the bone of the matter, the meat and the bone, because you guys really need to know and understand that white supremacy is nothing but white inferiority complex. Period. If you are truly superior to somebody, you don't have to shout it. You don't have to bring about laws that benefit you and doesn't benefit other people, allowing you to become rich and powerful while others are treated less than and are robbed of their wealth. And this is exactly what happened in America. So with that, I think we're going to cover the video tonight, as well as some other things that I thought were pertinent to the show. So let's get right into what it's all about. And as we move forward, I want you to be able to think about what I was saying last night and how all of this connects. So right now we're going to look at a paragraph that was written by Edmund Godfrey, and he is a famous author and a historian as well. So, with all of that being said, I wanted to write that for you. To read it for you. And right now you can probably see it. But allow me to go on ahead and read it because it's really pertinent to what we're talking about. It said the history of blacks, the first people, did not start with the enslavement of blacks in 1441 by their own black European brethren, who were the noble and bourgeois elite of Europe. The nobles and the bourgeoisie were like two equally brown and black complexioned European tribes fighting for power. All of history is about brown and black complexioned people. Because you have to realize that if you go back far enough, you only find black people. There's no such thing as a yellow man or a red man, nor a white man. White people come from black people, and they are black people. So let me continue to read. Whites never ever founded any civilization. Blacks civilized and Christianized the pagan hell out of whites in Europe. Among the nobles and the bourgeois, those with classical African facial traits were considered pure of blood. The nobility self-identified as black by means of little heraldic Moors. Now you probably seen those pictures and those statuettes. They're very unique in their appearance, and they're dressed in fantastic clothing and jewelry. Let me continue. The heraldic Moors in Western art are symbols of blue blood and black superiority. They are usually not real persons, nor, God forbid, slaves. They are imaginary figures created by the painter as a symbol. The clever painters even did not need to have a black person in front of them to whip up a magnificently dressed little or big Moor. The painted portraits are no instamatic snapshots. They are artificial and loaded with symbolism. Though some real-life nobles, kings, and emperors like Charles V Habsburg or Leopold I Habsburg, and these are black people or were black men, fully resemble these imaginary Moors in looks. So even if they were depicted white in concept and loved the folly of painting up themselves as white and bleaching their skin in real life, they identified as black, as coming from Africa. And they saw themselves as superior over whites in the bourgeois case. Now you have to realize that there was an apartheid kind of situation. You had the upper kings and queens and royals and so on and so forth, the upper black elite, and then you have the middle strata of the normal so-called black people, and below that you have whites. Let me continue. But we do not know this, and some find it almost impossible to believe, because we have been deceived since 1848 with fake whitened overpaints of people who were described as black, brown, the black boy, more brown than white, swarthy, bad complexion, and not the white hand, chimney sweeper, black as chimney, the black prince, black Tom, ugly, etc. When you enter a museum, the people who speak to you lie through their teeth. The paintings are overpaints, often completely vandalized masterpieces, and they write thick, important scientific books about this falsified data that hide the true complexion of the ancient regime. The whites were considered shoe leather until the invention of human races to elevate these white to human level. The historical declaration of human rights was on their behalf. The white serfs were asked to be regarded as humans by the brown and black skinned nobles. In this way, the bourgeois philosophers of the Enlightenment forged a coalition between whites, who were the majority, and the bourgeois, who, in defiance of the nobility, identified themselves as Caucasians or black Caucasians, to defeat the hated nobility. When they finally succeeded, the newly emancipated whites set out to rewrite history, extirpate their oppressors from history, and retouch all the faces of the hated ancient regime. Now, even as we speak, the whites keep this secret from us. But no more. I'm onto their little game that I, with your help and blessing, will stop right now. It will stop right now. Go to your museum and ask for a tour with magnifying goggles and demand to be shown the facial retouches. Next, write to your city council about the scandalous falsehood perpetrated on blacks. I have discovered a source of miscommunication between Americans and others as the state of America still believes in the unscientific concept of human races, assigning a race to every citizen. And in the U.S., the North Africans, no matter of what complexion, are considered whites. We have all seen the Libyans and the Egyptians marching on TV, and we should decide for ourselves if they are white. Do they have a white identity? As the bourgeois and Republican-inspired revolutionary leadership identified as white, though brown and black of complexion, Americans did not realize the American founding fathers were far, far, far from lily white complexion. Greeting to you all and best wishes for 2013, the year of our deliverance. And this was written by Egmont Godfrey, and I would he's from Suriname, and he's the author of Blue Blood is Black Blood Museum at The Hague. And you can continue to read that, but you have to realize that white people are suffering from a low self-esteem Because if you were truly superior, you wouldn't have to put down anybody. You wouldn't have to go out of your way to lie and scheme and connive and cover up other people's history, or even assume their history and their persona. Like a lot of white movies nowadays perceive Egyptians to be white, and they're not. And the Egyptian people in Egypt take great offense to that. Now, this is the update of Blue Blood, a Black Blood, 1100 to 1848, and I'm going to read that as well. The research question was, why do whites hate and fear blacks so much? What did blacks do to whites to make them so hateful? When did they do these things to whites? Why can't one discuss these matters with white people? Now, I'm not claiming that whites are bad people and blacks are good. Instead, I have found that whites hate and fear blacks because they were despotically ruled by a black and brown complexioned European elite, which identified as black. Blue Blood is Black Blood, 1100 to 1848. Racism and Eurocentrism then becomes a liberation ideology. Racism and Eurocentrism then becomes a liberation ideology to free whites from black rule in Europe and prevent this from occurring again. The reason why this sounds very strange is because whites have written or rewritten history since they were emancipated in 1848. They have turned history white. The whites today are descendants of the European serfs. During the period of 1100 to 1848, there was a trade in human leather or skin in Europe, and it were most likely that the serfs who were flayed and their skin used to bind books, make clothing, and make shoes. The serfs, the whites, were considered less than human, and human races were invented to give them human status since 1760. Let me, in case you didn't get that, and in case you didn't really hear it, let me read that little part again. The whites today are descendants of European serfs. During the period of 1100 to 1848, there was a trade in human skin leather in Europe, and it were most likely that the serfs who were flayed or skinned and their skin used to bind books, make clothing, and make shoes. The serfs, the whites, were considered less than human, and human races were invented to give them human status since 1760. The nobility in Europe started with black and brown complexion native Europeans, who were descendants of the first Europeans who entered Europe 45,000 years ago. The whites came 6,000 years ago from Central Asia. During the medieval era, black and brown Europeans were called blue men. A poem describes Saracens as blue and black as molten lead. Blue was a euphemism for black. And you can see the date in which Egmont Gottfried wrote that, and even the time. And he goes on to say, "Dear friends, I'm happy to see that more people are putting up my theory, blue blood is black blood, 1500 to 1789 on their website. Sadly enough, I have noted that any white person will respond with blind panic, irrationality, and ridicule. If I try to explain these matters to them, perhaps they are even in fear of each other, and do not want to be labeled nigger lover. Who knows? Yet I believe they deserve some consideration, as they were dominated by blacks, so they were taught to fear blacks. This fear is instilled through education, media, movies, anything and everything. The indoctrination is so strong and pervasive that other colors and even blacks are affected. To change this, we have to combat the religious belief, called white supremacy. The idea is that whites, because of their color, are better, have better intelligence, better moral values, less likely to make a mess of some undertaking, more honest, more considered, less violent, and better in looks, etc. This fallacy can easily be deconstructed by realizing that whites came out of blacks. Whites are descendants of albinos, as both lack the ability to produce melanin. Like I was saying last night, you gotta really understand what this is about. And I want to read that little part again. The idea is that whites, because of their color, are better, have better intelligence, blah blah blah. The fallacy can easily be deconstructed by realizing that whites came out of black people. Whites are descendants of albinos, as both lack the ability to produce melanin, and some are still very white and immediately burn in the sun, while others are mixed with darker phenotypes and are able to tan. Human albinism is more than the classical albino with red eyes. There are albino variations, which in description sound like what we consider normal whites, with darker hair, darker eyes, and the ability to tan. Albinism is hereditary. There seems to be a need to medicalize albinism while they are normal, functioning people who just need to take some precaution before they venture out in the sun. Believe it or not, blacks were described in the 19th century as riddled with diseases and their extinction was imminent. Whites do this today against albinos and recently this obvious comparison. He goes on to say they respond with some strange Wikipedia science, saying that blacks slowly turned white in the mysterious process about 6,000 years ago. That's exactly when the whites left Central Asia and settled in Europe, where they met the first Europeans who were black and colored. While in the whole of nature, every white life form comes from albinism. We have white roses, dark roses, white mice, gray mice, white cat, black cat, white gorillas, and black gorillas. Yet we do not consider a white cat as defect or sick or put a higher or lower value on white cats, white dogs, white roses, or white squirrels. White and black in regard to humans are political terms to divide and to oppress. I feel that the first step needed is to eradicate white supremacy by showing that every black person images of albinism among flowers, animals, primates, and humans. Whites came out of blacks and are in no way superior. Fact. If they are superior, there must be other mechanisms in play. Like white supremacy is based on whitened, fake, over-painted portraits of a European elite, which were described as black and colored. Moors are classical Africans found in Western art. I would like to advise black to come away from discussion with the Spanish Moors because this confuses the matter. The Arab Moors encountered black, colored, and white Europeans. The cultured black noble and royal Europeans made Europe what it is today. They became cruel and despotic. This resulted in the French Revolution. Blacks abducted and held other blacks in slavery. And there are still blacks today who collaborate to keep other blacks down. Now, with all of that being stated, listen, this is not something that is hard to understand. A person A does not wake up hating person B lest person B did something. Black people are no more holy than any other people, but there is a demonic obsession and possession of white supremacy and white superiority that whites have. And like I said last night, you cannot defeat the demons that are in possession of you, that you love doing, that you love playing with. You just cannot. You cannot defeat the demons you love playing with. And white people love white supremacy, white superiority. They know they're not superior. They know they can't beat black people on a one-on-one even level playing field. Hell, they left us out of basketball, football, baseball, and we took it over. Now we're taking over tennis. Now we're taking over surfing. I mean, even surfing was a black sport. Hockey was a black sport. If you look at a book called Black Ice, white people didn't create hockey. Black people did. And so when you begin to really understand the history, the time, the date, the people, and what happened and how it happened and why it happened and why the Tripolitan War took place, and I covered that last night, and why did white people check black people's teeth and musculature on the auction block? Because we did it to them. They were so pissed off that they had to get revenge, and this was one of the ways in which they did it. There was no black slavery per se in America. Black people were prisoners of war. Period. There was no going with the wind kind of situation where all the white people were on top of all the black people. That didn't happen. White people were out there picking cotton, doing the work on the sugar and tobacco plantation when we brought them over here initially to work in the 13 colonies. They did not get their official freedom until 1776 when Britain got Spain and France off their back, and they were able to breathe a lot better. And like I stated last night, America is only consists of only 13 states. And in my book, The White Man's Burden, I cover all of those facts. Now, to move on and to be able to really sink in the tenacity of white supremacy and the nastiness of white supremacy, I want you to get a load of this. This is one of the things that I ran across, and I hope it comes up. Yeah, here we go. It states, white supremacists asked Muslim lawyer, why is there no Christian ISIS? And this is the problem of the mentality of white people who think they are just the holy of holies. That they don't do anything wrong. White people don't kill black people, as this one white guy who killed two black unsuspecting people outside of a store or something like that. And he came up on a white guy with his gun drawn, and he said, don't worry, white people don't kill white people. Okie dokie. Now, you know damn well that's not true. The majority of white people who are killing white people are the white people. Period. Like 95%. You guys kill each other more than black people kill black people, as per my discussion last night. Now, as we read this, you're going to get a sense of this craziness, because this lawyer from Washington, Qasim Rashid, really put it down. So, as I read it, it said, Qasim Rashid, a lawyer in Washington, D.C., went viral on Sunday for giving a white supremacist and the internet a much-needed history lesson. Rashid gets harassed on the internet by anti-Muslims assholes on the regular. One of them, who was likely quite proud of his hot take, asked him, where's the Christian version of ISIS and every other religion then? I'm sure that Rashid took his time and thought about it, and he replied with thousands of years of receipts known as world history. Gotcha, thanks. Where's the Christian version of ISIS and every other religion then? Asking for a friend. Well, he gets into it. 400 years of transatlantic slave trade that maimed, raped, killed, kidnapped, and enslaved 20 million Africans, heathen, to bring them to Christ. Now, that didn't happen. It wasn't no Africa to the America. It's really the America to Africa. And I covered that last night, so he's wrong about that one. Genocide of Native Americans under the name of Christ as manifest destiny, and I talked about that. Genocide of Australian Aborigines that killed 90% of their population in less than a century, again by Christian Europeans. Now, as you can remember, what I was telling you that white people weren't called white people; they were called Christians. And then you have, he goes on, he talks about the Salem witch trial, the Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades, the Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda that has, the Lord's Resistance Army in Uganda that has maimed, raped, and killed up to 100,000 people, according to the UN, during the past 15 years, which is far more destructive than ISIS. And they've done so to establish biblical law as a self-described Christian organization. In Central Africa, Republic Christian militias have destroyed every single mosque, and the UN report that Muslims are facing ethnic cleansing, that report that Christians are cannibalizing Muslims literally. In America, white supremacists who are self-described Christians are the single largest terror threat in American security to American security. That's described Christians are the single largest terror threat. Well, I was just repeating. That's according to the FBI and 392 police agencies in a study published last year. George Bush, a devout Christian, said God told him to invade Iraq. Well, by estimates, 1 million civilians were killed due to this unjust war. Not to talk about Israel and these fake wannabe white Jews under the banner of Zionism, killing millions of Palestinians. The KKK still exists, Nazis still exist, Aryan Nation still exists. So before you question any Muslim about ISIS, which, by the way, is the result of that Iraq bombing and not the result of the Quran, please check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm pretty sure it was Jesus who said something about moats and beams, and dread not lest ye be judged. That's right, racist, troll, not lest ye be trolled. So, and then it goes on, Rashid was generous to take the time to educate the racist schmuck, and the post received over 5,600 retweets, with one commentator or commenter even added, "I need my ignorant grandma to see this." The reply has received the endorsement of Christians. Every religion has extremists, and extremists have more in common with each other than they do with the common people of their faith. While a white supremacist is likely to view every other type of religious violence as alternative facts, when truth matters again, this truth should be studied in history class. Now, that's powerful. I just don't know what else to say. I mean, he really hits it on the head. So, as per my second book, dealing with or understanding white supremacy, the white man's burden of lies and deceit, understanding white supremacy, I found a video that is really apropos, and it's about 6 minutes. And so what we're going to do, we're going to come on over here, and it was done by Adam Ruins Everything on YouTube, and it talks about redlining and the history of suburbs. So we're going to play that, and I'll be right back with you in 6 minutes and 20 seconds. Enjoy.
It's not so white here. Look. Bad example. Ignore sweater dog people. A tote bag full of kale. You're killing me, lady. Okay, maybe this neighborhood is mostly completely insufferably white, but that's just the way things are here. It doesn't mean we're racist.
I'm sure you're not, Ron. But the fact that so many suburbs are mostly white is no accident. red areas, no loans were available.
I can barely afford rent with this. It's no fair. The red areas are screwed.
Yeah, they were. And do you know why some areas were designated as red?
No, but I can guess.
Those were the neighborhoods where African Americans and other minorities lived, and redlining systematically prevented them from getting home loans.
Well, I know what I'll do. Just take my little guy and put him in the green neighborhood.
Sorry, that's against the rules. Early suburb developers like William Levitt instituted explicitly racist policies.
Levittown homes must not be used or occupied by any person other than members of the Caucasian race.
And the federal government itself encouraged developers to discriminate.
Developers, I want you to exclude non-whites.
The result of these policies is that from 1934 through 1968, a whopping 98% of home loans were given to white families.
Okay, this is not fair. I did not get to pick what color I was when I started.
Yeah, no one does. And this advantage compounded over time. The families in the green or white neighborhoods were able to purchase homes and accrue wealth.
The market went up. I could sell my house and buy a bigger one.
Whereas the people in the red neighborhoods got none of those opportunities.
I can't afford property. I'm behind on my electric bill.
In the green neighborhoods, the influx of new wealth attracted new businesses,
Oh, we got an organic grocery.
which caused property values to go up. Which meant white families could sell their homes and send their kids to college,
They go up so fast.
passing down their wealth and advantages to future generations. Meanwhile, the red neighborhoods had far less ability to build wealth, and many remained trapped in poverty.
This game is rigged.
Yeah, it was. That's why laws were eventually passed that made most of these discriminatory practices illegal.
Great. Finally, I can move. I don't have enough money.
Exactly. Without wealth, families in the red neighborhoods couldn't afford to move up, keeping these communities separated by race. Today, 70 years after Levittown was created, it's still less than 1% black.
I may be dead, but the effect of my racism lives on.
And if the neighborhoods are segregated, that means the schools are too.
No, that can't be true. We ended school segregation back in the 60s.
Sorry, Ron, but I'm afraid that's not true.
Ron, this is Nicole Hannah-Jones. She's a New York Times investigative reporter who covers civil rights issues, including school and housing segregation. Nicole, would you mind telling Ron what most people get wrong about segregation?
People tend to think of segregation as an archaic term for Jim Crow policies that led to the civil rights movement. But the truth is that black children are more segregated in schools now than at any time since the 1970s.
And in the U.S., schools are largely funded by property taxes. Since property values in the white neighborhoods are so much higher, their schools get way more money.
Oop.
Way more money to spend on things like facilities, teachers, and supplies.
On the other hand, predominantly black and Latino schools are massively underfunded. They're less likely to have AP, science, and math courses, and they're the least likely to have experienced and qualified teachers.
The truth is, Neil Donovan doesn't just go to the best school, he goes to a segregated school.
No.
This is a direct result of decades of redlining policies enacted by our own government to build the suburbs. Highways that were built to make access to the suburbs easier for white Americans were often run right through black middle-class neighborhoods, destroying them.
People in the past were the worst.
It's not just the past. Banks still regularly charge black home buyers higher rates on loans than they do white home buyers, even when they have the same credit. Worst of all, black and Latino home seekers still experience 4 million incidents of illegal housing discrimination every year.
I mean, I didn't do any of that stuff. I'm not racist. And I worked hard to get this house.
Of course. But without realizing it, you've also gotten a leg up from America's history of racist housing policies. The suburb you live in was built on a foundation of segregation. And we can't close our eyes to that. Hey, Adam here. If you like that, be sure to watch all new episodes of Adam Ruins Everything every Tuesday at 10 on True TV.
All right. Well, that was very, very, very powerful. I hope you guys really rewind that and see it from the beginning to the end again, and really search out other videos that really talk about this. This had gone on since really after Reconstruction was over, and the creation, as I was talking about last night, the creation of the Democratic Party that formed and helped to create the KKK. And to be honest with you, the greatest affirmative action was for white guys and white people and white women and white children. And we're going to get into some other books as well, by Karen Cox, Dixie's Daughters, The Color of Law, and other books that you're going to find that we're going to bring up here as well. So tonight is really important for you to really be able to understand what is going on and what has gone on and what is continued to happen. That white people did not lift themselves up by their own bootstraps. There was federal, state, and local laws, regulations, and policies that were in place to push white people forward and to keep black people down, and to ultimately get them into menial jobs and so on and so forth. And this is why the iconic images of black as servants and butlers, you know, the whole nine, is so prevalent in the minds of white people in America, because they can't see it any other way. You know, they bought into white supremacy. It is a demon, and they are demonically possessed by it, and thinking that, you know, they did it themselves. They they don't owe anybody, and the black people are just plain lazy, and that's not true. There are more white people on welfare than black people. There are more white people receiving rental assistance, better known as Section 8, throughout America than black people. I mean, I can remember reading an article on Facebook and talking about how these so-called wannabe white Jews were being convicted of superseding the use of Section 8, and they were, I would imagine, they were sent to prison for it. But I digress. So we're going to move on. We're going to cover about 30 things that I wanted to bring up on the screen. And the first one is white people's tears. Being as black as I am, and seeing things happening, white people have a tendency to be dismissive, like the white guy in the video, like a lot of white people do. They have the benevolent attitude, the stuck-up attitude, the I'm better than you attitude, knowing fully well what happened. White folks know what happened. But for whatever reason, and perhaps black people don't, or brown people don't know what happened and why they are in the position that they're in. So to me, when white folks start crying and bitching and doing whatever they do, give me a cup, an ice cold cup with some ice cubes of white people tears, please. Because I don't want to hear it. It doesn't make any damn sense. And white folks know. Now, the reality is that you got to understand the Vikings were black people, period. They went throughout all of Europe on the coast of Iceland, and the people of Iceland would tell you that when they saw the Viking boats coming, they would run inward from the border of the ocean inward inland, in order to escape the possibility of being captured and sent into slavery. Now, one of the most perhaps famous of the Vikings that I can think of was Eric the Red, black guy, and his friend. I can't remember his friend or a name offhand. They were like tit for tat. They were like two peas in a pod, and that's a great book as well. Now, you're gonna get some noise every now and then because I'm sitting here at the kitchen table doing this podcast. But just ignore that and just really try to pay attention to what I'm trying to say here. But last night I was trying to put across to you that the government played a huge role in bringing drugs and crime and guns into the black community. That kicked off and increased the number of blacks that were going to prison. And as you can see, the war on blacks was real. Nixon administration invented anti-drug campaign to target minorities. And this is what a lot of people, or what a lot of white people are doing. They are shooting themselves up with melanin. I did mention this last night, and if I pronounced it wrong, please excuse me. But it's called what take is that? Melanotin. It's like a liquid that they fill up with in a syringe, and they shoot themselves up in their veins, and sooner than later they become dark. And this is the reason why Miss Big, who is a woman from Germany, I believe, she has humongous breasts, and that's another thing. But she went from lily white, please excuse that, she went from lily white to crispy brown. And now she's saying she's trans-race and she's black. Go figure. So, in a nutshell, I know fully well that white people want to be black people so bad that, they try to hem and haw and shift from foot to foot and side to side. But they do. Here, you're talking about the European before any contact with Africans, and then after the contact with Africans. Africans before any contact with Europeans, and Africans after contact with Europeans. Whatever you may think, that might be true, but we have fallen off the wagon. I can tell you that. So, but I digress. So let's move on. Now, last night I was telling you also that the Jews were black. Gamal Nasser, who was the deceased president of Egypt, stated matter of factly that you left here black, you came back white, we cannot accept you. For since you have come back white, the Middle East, Israel, will never know peace. And here you have a guy who wrote the book, Shlomo Stan. Today Jews have more in common with Kagans of Khazaria than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But I digress again. But the truth always stays the same. There are three things that you cannot hide in this world: the sun, the moon, and the truth. The truth will always prevail. It is the lie that you must dress up and make it look pretty. And here it is, Gamal Abdel Nasser. When he was asked about peace in the Middle East, the late president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, stated, "The Jews will never be able to live here in peace because they left here black but came back white." Now, I'm not in the convention business. Now, if you want to continue to believe the bullshit lies, and we're going to get into a meme that really hits it on the head, then that's you. I'm not in the convention business. I don't give a damn whether you want to stay stupid or you want to become more knowledgeable. You want to stay a fool or you want to become more wise. That's your decision. I know what the truth is because I believe what the truth is. I believe what the truth is because I know. Period. And we cover that as well. Knowing and believing is faith, the whole nine. And here we have it. This is what white folk hate, and this is what white folk don't want to be known. How they are, what they are, and why they are. Now, last night I put up National Geographic, BBC. They were talking and saying that the black woman or black people were the true humans. Homo sapiens sapien. Are you going to argue about that? Are you going to suffer from cognitive dissonance? White people? The BBC and the National Geographic stated that white people are not human. You're not. You're not the true human Homo sapiens sapien. You are part Neanderthal, and that's the reason why you grow tails, and that's the reason why you have the worst genetics on the planet. Now, this is a white guy addressing an Indian, be it a Mongolian Indian, not a true Indian, because we already know that the true indigenous Indians in America and around the world, or wherever they may have been, and the true indigenous people, period, were black people. But it said this is the picture that needed to be beside the definition of white privilege. This guy paints himself up and puts on the feathers. He just goes crazy and ballistic and thinks that he can say what he want to say because he's white. I'm white and I say so. And I say so. You know, that's the general attitude of white people. Now, on this day in black history, on February 2nd, 1961, Leroy Jones became the first black man to get his dick sucked on a whites-only bench and live to tell the story. Now, we all know that white women want that chocolate. We can't argue that. And white guy want that chocolate. We can't argue that. But I digress. Let's move on. This is Lyndon Baines Johnson, who is perhaps, if you want to consider him to be one of the most prolific and famous presidents of the United States. If not, he definitely put it here and put it down to define Trump supporters. And let me read this. LBJ was once asked why poor and middle-class Republicans vote against their own interests. This was his response, literally his response. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't know you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him someone to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. See, this is the reason why I say white folks are not smart. They dumber than a box of fucking rock. And whether they want to know it or not, believe it or not, accept it or not, it's real. It's real. It's real. Now, on this one, it said, do black people have superpower genes? And it says, yes, black people do. Melanin, or melanin, is a high-power spiritual living molecule. Melanin is also associated with your skin, causing it to be brown-black. But just because you are black does not mean you have a high percentage of melanin. Remember that your percentage of melanin can be killed by certain foods, frequencies that can come from certain music, sounds, chemicals. Too much TV, lack of sunlight, and most of all, not knowing the truth about your history. Melanin contains memories of your ancestors. So the more melanin you have, the more information and knowledge you can pull in through yourself without even putting your head in a book. That's just your third eye and your instinct telling you. Every living thing has to have melanin. White people have it also, but they have the lowest percentage of melanin than any race on earth, making them the most distant from God. Now, if you can remember, I was telling you about HeLa cells and Henrietta Lacks. Now, if that doesn't prove to you that there's something powerful about melanin, and melanin goes for $400 a gram, and gold goes for I don't know what $800 an ounce. So melanin is more valuable than gold and platinum and silver combined. And Helen Lacks and her cells, of which her family was never given any money, and I don't know about it, if it's been settled or not, but up to the point where I have been aware of it, billions of dollars have been made from her cells, and her cells don't die. She was a melanated black woman. So there's got to be something about black people's cells that white people are killing black people to get their organs for. Real talk. There's power in black people's genes and black people's melanin. Period. Since his emergence from the cave, this ungodly, violent, sadistic, sexually depraved, criminally insane beast has crawled across the earth, putting out the light wherever he has gone. With no exceptions, every living organism unlucky enough to have encountered him has met a disastrous fate. Functioning like a plague upon the planet, his savagery is legendary as he devours and lays waste to everything he sees and he touches. And his greed and quest for total domination, power over human life. Now, I touched on this last night. White people have done nothing to this world. They have not brought civilization to the world. They destroyed civilization. They have brought the 4Ds: death, destruction, disease, and despair. And this is what it's all about. They don't know the word, and they don't understand the word civil. We civilized them twice, and they couldn't get it and couldn't keep it going. Once during the Hellenic period, after they took over our civilization of Rome and Greece, and after 1492, and it took them 400 years to try to get up to par with that as well. But, I digress. White people, single-handedly the most violent race of human beings throughout the history of mankind. No other race of human beings has killed more people, raped more women, destroyed more cultures, or has stolen as much land as white people. White people are the most hated race of human beings on the planet. Give me a cup of white tears, please. I'm thirsty. Would ice cube the white tears, please? Now, this is the sickness of a lot of white people. I touched on this last night. They have brothels throughout all of Europe where they go and have sex with all kinds of animals. They even have sex among themselves called scat, where they have sex in groups. And they're defecating on each other, urinating on each other, eating the feces and drinking the urine, vomiting it up, and having sex in it again and drinking and eating it again. Now, if you don't believe me, I didn't believe it either. I'm going to tell you the truth. I found it really, really odd. Like, hell no, that couldn't be. It is true. Google scat, S-C-A-T. And, they're having sex with sex dolls. They want to have babies with sex dolls. Now, how that works, I have no idea. And I talked about pedophilia and how they get going rampant with pedophilia and just screwing over millions of kids over the years. The Catholic Church. Do I need to really expand on that? And by the way, Dr. Phil, of the Dr. Phil show, he went to, I think, the Netherlands, and they cut him off. They cut his show off because he was getting into the government officials or pedophilia running wild in that country. And he had proof. He had the receipts of this woman who came onto the show, and he investigated it and found that this woman was credible, but they cut his show off, and because they didn't want that to be exposed. So there's a lot of things that white people are doing that they don't want people to know because they're not holding themselves accountable. They are not. And this is the reason why they're getting into a whole lot of shit. Matt Lauer, Harvey Weinstein, there's no accountability. There's no justice. There's no sense of morality, character, and integrity because you are making the laws. I'm white and I say so law. Now this one is a oxymoron. I don't get this black guy, and I can understand the white guy. It says, I swear to God, I don't even know what's going on in 2017 anymore. Now, to be honest, the Confederate flag was a derivative of the Cherokees. That's true. We see a lot of white people using a lot of things that were originally black in origin, especially the swastika. The swastika was a good luck symbol. It says, what I was trying to say, melanotan 2. It is used as a tanning injection to change people from what they are, pale, to a darker complexion. Now here they talk about Europeans were the first slaves in America. You can stop the video and you can read it. I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to leave it up here for a few seconds. But as you can see, the black guy just standing back and waiting on orders, I guess, to whoop the shit out of this white guy. And this is what's going on. A lot of black were considered white, and a lot of whites were considered black. It was no going with the wind kind of situation. It just wasn't. And I explained that last night as well. And if you want to read this, please stop the video and then just take the time to read it. Father Foucher fantasized about raping and killing young children, favored child pornography that depicted extreme violence, and claimed to have mixed his own bodily fluids into the communion wine at his church. Do I need to say more? And this, Lincoln ordered the greatest mass hanging in America's history. 38 Indians. It's kind of blurry, but I don't know if you guys can make that out. But if you can, just stop the video. I'm not going to read it. And, take the time to read it and try to make it out. Name something that wouldn't exist without white people. Hell, everything. In my opinion. This is the prime example of white tears. God damn. They hate our heritage. They hate our flag. They hate our freedom to bear arms. I'm going to leave that there and you can finish reading it by stopping the video. Silly is as silly does. And this is the silliness that white people have. I think they're really psychotic, honestly psychotic, and they're very delusional. You're not white, you're not European, you're not Caucasian, you're not Aryan, you're not Anglo-Saxon. You're just an albino, Caucasoid, Europoid-like person. And you're black. Just look at all that Republican heritage. White people can wear swastikas, fly Confederate flags, but black NFL players can't kneel to protest police killing blacks. This is the history of white people. They have no history. They come from the caves. They were sleeping with their dogs and having sex with their dogs, and sleeping and having babies in their own excrement and urine. But I digress. And this is what goes on when I talk about white supremacy and putting down and having iconographic images of black people. And this was going on in the Saturday Evening Post and a lot of newspapers before the advent of the TV or perhaps even the radio. Now this is what it's all about. White people worshiping black people because that's what they did. They worship a black Jesus, a black Mary, a black Joseph, black gods everywhere. The Greeks and the Roman gods, all of them were black. Zeus, Hercules, Nike, you name it. And white people came to Egypt in order to learn. Writing, science, medicine, and spirituality were already a part of the Egyptian civilization. Greek came to Africa as students, not as masters, not as, superior beings, to discover what Africans already knew. "100% Neanderthal, 100% human. Africans are the only 100% humans on Earth. Period. All of the so-called white phenotypes, thin lips, thin nose or straight hair, blue eyes, green eyes, those come from black people, not white people. Now, all of a sudden, white people want to be African. We all African, but motherfucker, you wasn't saying that shit before. Oh, geez, you niggers, I'm just sick and tired of you. Oh, we are all Africans now. Can I be a part of the Black Panther? Can I be a part of the movement? No, and no. Fuck you. See you later. Bye-bye. And according to The Stolen Legacy, which is a great book as well by George G.M. James, after nearly 5,000 years of prohibition against the Greeks, they were permitted to enter Egypt for the purpose of their education. Let that sink in. And the white guy is saying to the black guy, teach us great gods. And we were gods. We were the gods of mathematics, the gods of science, the gods of astronomy, the gods of astrology, the gods of medicine, the gods of law, the gods of architecture. Gods, meaning we dominated, we understood, we had great knowledge of. That's all. And therefore, and that's the reason why I say, a lot of black people today are worshiping God in a church and building churches for God outside of them, rather than doing what our ancestors did, seeing ourselves as gods and building pyramids. So we have some work to do, but we'll get it done. I believe that we'll get it done. It's not racist if it's true. Ain't that the truth? We're coming up on an hour. We're a little bit over. I don't know exactly what happened to the live stream. I'm going to post this tonight, so hopefully we can get it done. And I apologize for that. I'm going to find out exactly what happened and correct it. So, Murphy's Law is always at work. But, for whatever problems that come up, there's an answer for it, and I'm going to find out what that is so we won't have this streaming problem anymore. Now, this is the other thing. These were books that were written by Janet McCoy about white people enjoying animal love. And new book, April 1977. They had no qualms about screwing dogs. White women and white men. Mother's Dog Urge by Paul Gabby or Gable, a pet book. New book September 1982. God damn. It was their thing. It's what they do. Truth is like a lion. You don't have to defend it. Let it loose and it will defend itself. St. Augustine. A black man, St. Augustine. You know who he is. True. You don't have to defend it. What I am saying tonight is true. I don't have to defend it. It will defend itself. I'm letting it loose, and it will tear the asses out of all the lies that they're trying to hide and all the secrets to reveal it. Now, I would imagine, and I would advise that you guys get this book. This sister wrote a 2-volume book, The History of White People, Nell Irvin Painter. And along with all of the things that we're going to be covering as well, we're going to be doing some book reviews, and hopefully I can get her on. And Birth of a White Nation. This was a small book, a short book, but very much to the point. The Invention of White People and Its Relevance Today by Jacqueline Battalore. Great book. I really enjoyed it. And there are YouTube videos featuring her as well as with Nell Painter. So what I also want you to be aware of is a book called The Color of Law and Dixie's Daughter by Karen Cox. Powerful book. Get them, continue to grow, and continue to understand what happened, and you'll begin to see the light, and you'll begin to see things differently. And with all of that being said, I want to right now put up my book again. And let me erase that one. And before we go, I just want to make sure that you guys understand what is going on in this world. Lies are becoming truths. Truths are becoming lies. And you got to flip the script. You got to accept it. And it is so very important to do so. And to be honest with you, I just don't know, what else I can say. Outside of that, I am really enamored by the fact that there's hope. There's always hope. Hope springs eternal in tomorrow's eyes. You cannot give up. You cannot give in. You cannot give out. Hope springs eternal. And I know in the end that truth will always prevail over lies. That justice will always prevail over injustice. And that foolishness and all of its other opposites will prevail. But what has to happen, there has to be a willingness to change. There has to be an openness to change. There has to be the ability and the wanting of change. Because if there is no change in you, how can you change the world outside of you? How can you become a part of the people's revolution, which is what this channel is all about, to tell you the truth. And I find it very, very important that if we're going to defeat white supremacy in all of its terms, then we have to face the truth. White people have to face the truth that you guys just got here. You have no history. You haven't done anything, but you claimed indigenous history to be your own. And one day it's going to catch up to you if you don't already know that such evidences and truths are right at people's fingertip. All they have to do is just Google. That's not hard to do. And accepting the truth and being about correcting the history books, the laws, and giving back what was taken unjustly. That's the main thing. And there are some groups and some white groups that are about doing that worldwide because they understand and they know what happened. And to be quite honest, I find it morally corrupt, without integrity, without character, without anything, as to what white people have done and what white people continue to do, and to be dismissive. You can't do that. I mean, you can. Now, let me take that back. But there are consequences to that. You must set the record straight. You cannot be dismissive anymore. And all of the wealth that has been accrued by white people, come on. You know fully well you did not pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You just didn't. And it's like a line going into a movie theater, and there are two movies that's playing. The comfortable lies of which white people are standing in line because they can't accept the truth, versus the movie that doesn't have any body in it in order to see that movie, called The Inconvenient Truth. And I find that to be apropos as to what is really going on in the world and in America. That white people prefer the comfortable lie or lies versus the inconvenient truth, because they've been taught this, and they have bought into their own delusion, their own mental psychotic and psychopathic belief system. They just cannot let it go because they are demonically possessed by it. And when you are possessed by the demons that you cannot defeat because you are enjoying them still, you cannot defeat the demon that you enjoy playing with. And once again, white supremacy is the demon of white people. White superiority is the demon of white people that they enjoy playing with. All the lies, all the half-truths, all the bullshit is what it's all about. They cannot let it go. They cannot even see the handwriting on the wall, or the pride that is covering their eyes from their own demise worldwide. So that's it. We're going to wrap it up, and I'm going to post it, and I apologize again for what happened. I don't know what the heck happened and why it wasn't streaming, but once again, Murphy's Law is at play, and I'm going to resolve it. And we're going to be coming on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Or if not, at 9 o'clock. Because there's a little bit of a problem in the Israel household. So if not at 8, we're going to be on at 9 o'clock. And if it doesn't stream, believe me I'm going to do the recording. And then I'm going to post it. And that way you can take pleasure in seeing what was going on. So again, thank you for watching, and this is the WMB show, and I want you to be able to subscribe if you can and when you can, and also you can support the show on Patreon as well as through PayPal, and just click and subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that bell to get all of the future notifications of shows to come. And with that, we're going to wrap it up, and also check out our blog, thewhitemansburden.blog. We are posting on that on a daily, and there's like over 2,000 posts on that blog right now. So make sure you spread the word about the WMB show, and we will see you tomorrow night. If not at 8, then we're going to be on at 9 o'clock. So, with all of that being said, let me get on out of here. And peace, good things, and stay black. Alright, see you tomorrow night, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. One or the other. And like I said, stay black.